What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. We're going to talk about which players on the basketball team have lived up to expectations and continue talking some spring football. What else are we really excited about? What questions do we have? Who are some make or break players? We're going to start to talk about all of that and more on today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings, as always. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire the quality candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experience to help you achieve your 2023 goals. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. And we got Justin on the show today. Let's bring him in, talk some football. Justin, my friend, spring football's coming up. Let's talk about it. We started talking about with Rajiv. We talked about some of the things we're excited about. What are you excited about spring football?
Daily recaps. 100% looking forward most to hearing what's going on with the offense, how they looked, hearing about the quarterbacks, hearing some great things about the quarterbacks, like, oh, so-and-so broke a run today. That was a 40-yard run. Or, Braden Locke was absolutely on throwing dimes out there today. I want to hear that type of stuff. We know Mordecai is going to do it. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, I want to hear about it. I want to hear how these three guys push each other, because from an athleticism standpoint, it's really interesting how different the skill sets are between the three guys and how they're going to correlate while they're out there, throwing in the drills and everything. So it'll be really interesting.
No, when's the last time you can remember going into a spring practice excited to hear about the quarterback depth? No, honestly,
I mean, Russell Wilson, I knew about the transfer. I didn't really hear much about spring ball. I mean, other than that, and that was because I think most of us thought that who was our quarterback coach? The one that he was the backup for him.
Budmeyer.
Yeah, Budmeyer. He had the elbow and things going on while Russell Wilson was here, I believe. It was the same season, wasn't it?
Came in, Budmeyer had the injury.
Yeah.
Otherwise, nothing would have changed, obviously. But, there was nothing to talk about there.
We actually had a sneaky well-regarded room at that point. It's just nobody turned out besides Wilson.
Well, I started that comment off as a joke because it's been a minute, but I am trying to actually think the last time we went into spring practice really kind of excited about the depth at quarterbacks and how is this guy going to turn out? I mean, there's
DJ
been a
Gillens.
He
probably
regarded.
That
I
season?
remember when Gary Anderson, and people hate that name. I don't know why. He still brought a lot to Wisconsin, in my opinion. But I thought Tanner McAvoy coming in, I was excited to be heard
because he was a four-star junior college four-star quarterback.
Athletic dual threat guy. I was excited about that. That might be. I don't know. That might be a certain. Listen, certainly. Graham Mertz, we were all.
Well, look at the spring that we had with that. We had what? We had Gillens, we had McAvoy, and we had Stave coming off an impressive season.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was. I mean, that wasn't a bad room. And then you had Bart Houston that was hanging out there too.
Mm-hmm. Also,
so it's like
that was a highly regarded prep prospect as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been a minute, and certainly the level of expectation there wasn't what we have here.
Yeah, from an athletic standpoint, this room is very different compared to those. I mean, Evers is probably the one that you look at as the most raw athletic, and I don't think that I can't compare him to McAvoy because he's far more accomplished as a passer than what McAvoy was, and had played at a much higher level at playing at Texas high school football.
Yeah, I mean that's inarguable. I wanted to ask you about Rajiv and I. This came up from a question in our live chat. Somebody asked, "What's your realistic win-loss expectation this year?" Rajiv and I both went 10-2-ish with a possibility of 11-1. We got called homers for that, which, by the way, we might be. That's fine. But where are you at?
You and I talked a little bit about this offline. Our schedule stinks, and I'm just going to put that out there. It's awful. It's not a homer pick to say 10-2. It's even not really to say 11-1. Like if this offense plays to the talent level that's on it, it's better than every team that they play against outside of Ohio State. And it's really not close. Like if CJ Williams and Bryson Green come in and are legit who we think they are, this is an offense that's going to absolutely torch certain people because they're going to have some freaks out there at the wide receiver position. Well, and you're also going to have the ability to run when you don't have 9 in the box.
That's what I was just going to say. We know the running game is going to be a solid complement to whatever they're doing in the throw game. We know that.
How different does it make it if Wisconsin is scoring low to mid 30s per game? It puts so much more stress on the other team to have to take risks that they don't want to take. It's such a different atmosphere. Now, it could go wrong. Like the things could not be effective, but Mordecai's been in this system. So it's not like he's a quarterback that was highly regarded that's diving into a brand new system. SMU was playing effectively some version of the air raid. So he's going to be able to go out there and sling it. It's not going to be like rocket science to him. And it's a simpler offense to learn.
Low key, if we don't reach expectations, I think it's going to be defense this year that holds us back.
I would agree with that. But I actually think the defense will be solid. I think it's going to probably drop back a little bit depending upon there's 2 ways to look at this. I think the defense either takes a little bit of a step back or a little bit of a step up. It all depends on the pass rush guys, because I don't know what we're going to see from some of these guys. And like we were talking about with you and I were talking about Peterson, where it's like he's not completely out of the line of being where Zach Bond was going from junior to senior year.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a chance that he comes out and he just terrorizes quarterbacks this year.
No, 100%.
And Namdia Mehta could be great in the middle too. Like it wouldn't shock me to see him get like 6.5 sacks. I don't think there's going to be any double-digit guys in the middle. I just don't think either one of them are that savvy with the pass rush. But I do think in some ways we'll be better. I'm very curious to see how the defensive line is used this year. Like if they let those guys just shoot gaps, because that will be a big difference in the pass game.
So I don't think you answered the question. What is your record prediction?
I legitimately think that 10-2 is a very viable record. I think that if the offense comes together like I'm hoping it does, I think 11-1 is a distinct possibility. There's other than Iowa, there's nobody that scares me. Like Minnesota's lost a ton.
You mean other than Ohio State?
Well, no, that's a given.
Okay.
Like Ohio State is a given to me. Iowa is the only other team that I really am looking at this schedule that really truly scares me.
Well, let me do this. Let me put up I did this quick, so I may revise it. I put up in my opinion, my top 5 hardest games for this upcoming year. I'm going to throw this up here. Let me know where you think I'm wrong. So I've got number 1. Let's see if it adds this banner in here. Here we go. I've got number 1 Ohio State at home. That's kind of obvious. I put a little note in there. Luke Altmaier going to Illinois, the quarterback. But I have 2 going to Illinois, 3 going to Wazoo, 4 Iowa at home, and 5 at Minnesota. Before you even chop this up, because I think you have some thoughts on this, I do want to point out my larger reason for doing this is to point out how weak our schedule actually is.
I agree completely.
That
there's only legitimately 2 teams that truly scare me on the list, and that's to me is Ohio State and Iowa.
See, I wouldn't even put Iowa in that group. Ohio State's the only team.
Hear me out. And that game could be very weird against Iowa because it's going to be completely different complexion compared to what we're used to with Iowa and Wisconsin playing each other. Like if we come out attacking through the air against them, that's like the weirdest game ever against Iowa. Like we've never done that against them. The closest thing is probably Hornibrook in the game that we won like 38-14. I think he threw a fair amount in that game, including 2 touchdowns to the other team. But we really haven't thrown much or done much through the air against them. And to be fair, they are a very good pass defensive team. But the difference is that they're not going to be able to play downhill against us like they're used to. They're really used to every team that we play is used to being ultra aggressive with their front 7 against us. And that's going to change this year. Looking at them, Wazoo, I think they take a step back. I think they lost quite a bit on defense. I'm really not sure what to expect from them. And I just think if we play to our talent level, which I think we did not do last year. And if the coaching staff gets these guys to come together and chemistry's there, that we're going to be better than Wazoo by probably double digits.
Can I tell you why Wazoo scares me though?
Why?
Early season game with a new head coach, coordinator, defensive coordinator on the road.
That's fair. And that is, but if we had a system that was more complicated, I think I'd be a little bit more worried about it. And a quarterback that is very comfortable somewhat with the principles of it, I think helps a lot. Because it's not going to, like, he's going to have an understanding of why he's doing things as opposed to somebody who's fresh to it. Excuse me. I'm not afraid of Luke Altmaier. I actually think that Illinois takes a sizable step back because I think their defensive coordinator actually was a very plus hire for them. And as much as I like them having a Wisconsin guy running the show on that side now, it's his first time being a DC, and that's not a lock to be something that he just slides into and does effectively. May take him a couple of years. But we've seen what happened to Northwestern when they lost their defensive coordinator.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to agree though. Illinois, Bielema has brought in solid players.
Oh, he's a good coach.
They're going to run the ball. I don't know, but again, like, there's nobody on this list that scares me outside of Ohio State. Now, we could lose to Iowa 100%, but Iowa doesn't scare me. You know what I mean? So this is just looking at this. It's just a bad schedule.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. The biggest gift we were given this offseason was Brian Ferentz being retained as their OC. I don't know what Iowa's doing, but legit, I don't care if you brought in Cade McNamara and got Alton on that team. It's not going to matter. A bad system's a bad system. Like, you're still going to need to run 47 plays to get to score with that team. And it's a lot like Wisconsin. If you need to run that many plays, the chance for error is just creeps up the whole time. And he's going to be dealing with not Michigan level recruits on that team, which is going to change things dramatically for him in terms of plus the offensive system. I actually really liked Michigan's offensive system under Gaddis. That was effective. And that is not what Ferentz is running at all. So Cade McNamara may look completely different this season than what we saw at Michigan.
Well, but the thing
is, in a bad way,
he didn't even look. I mean, Cade McNamara,
he wasn't a world beater. He was solid.
Yeah, he was fine in Michigan, but it's not like they got somebody that we're like, wow, he was a star where he's coming from. He was good at Michigan in a really good system with talent around him. To your point,
and 2 studs at running back.
They bringing in all at tight ends good, and I was a couple running backs, but listen, they're just offensively a disaster. And McNamara isn't the type of quarterback that elevates a disaster. No. He's the type of quarterback who navigates a good system and keeps it on course. That's not what Iowa's been. So
he's a lot like Jack Cohn.
Yes.
So he's that type of player where he's going to probably keep you in the game. Like, if Mordecai plays like Mordecai has played his career and we play them, we should win that game. Like, so if he plays –
sorry, we have to take a quick break here, but really quick, how would you re-rank this list of these 5 I have here?
I would probably go OSU 1, Iowa 2, Illinois maybe 3, Minnesota, and then Wazoo.
Okay.
I think those last 3 are very close.
That's fair.
They're all pretty similar.
Yep. No, I think that's fair. All right, we're going to take a quick break, then we're going to come back. Do something that I want to talk about for a while. I'm glad Justin's on the show for this one. We're going to talk about which players have lived up to their expectation on the basketball team and which ones maybe haven't. We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a word from our friends of the show over at LinkedIn. Sponsors for a long time and sponsors for a reason, because we believe in them. As a small business owner or hiring manager, success in 2023 depends on your team members you surround yourself with. It's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire the qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve those goals. It's something I've used a ton. It's something my company uses. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools that go beyond resume data, and they have the ability to screen out and filter out people who have no business applying for your job, to save them time, to save you time, and time is money in this thing. That's what it's all about. Finding the right people and doing it quicker and more efficiently. LinkedIn Jobs helps make that job even easier with all of their tools. It's why small businesses continue to rank LinkedIn Jobs #1, delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Thank you for making Locked On Badgers your first listen every day. When you're done, go check out Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's get Justin back on. Talk about something that I've kind of wanted to talk about this for a while, and I haven't found the right show to shoehorn it into. Players that have lived up to expectations this year on the basketball side, players that haven't. I'm going to start the list off. I have it just kind of ranked in minutes per game, essentially. And what I did, and Justin, you don't have to do the same thing I did here, but just so everyone paying attention or listening or watching on the show, I'm giving everybody an A through an F. Okay. A means
I'll go with you on that. I'll throw my
expectations by quite a bit. B, exceeded expectations. C, right where kind of the expectations were. And obviously D and F, not getting there by a little bit or completely falling on your face. I want to start with, I think this one's going to be one of the more interesting and maybe the ones where we differ the most on. I want to start with Chucky Hepburn. I want to kind of kick it to you to get your feel on that A through F scale. Where is he falling for you?
I would probably give him a C+. And I say that as in, I think he's been a really good outside shooter. I think some of his shots have been questionable at times from there. I don't love his shot selection at times. But really the issues that I've had with Chucky is I don't know if he elevates the play of anyone else really on the court. And he needs to find some type of go-to move inside the arc to be an effective scorer. Like he's got to find something, whether that's I don't love, and I say that in this regard, a baseline fadeaway jump shot is not a go-to move because you're going to hit that maybe in the mid 30 percentile, which is nice when you hit it, but it's not a shot that I look at and then be like, that's borderline automatic. But yeah, the big thing for me is that his assist numbers are just not great. And defensively, he's been taken advantage of a little bit this season at times. Quicker guards have exploited him.
I'm going to go B-. I'm just a tick higher. And part of this, again, is based on your expectations, right? This is one of those where I get plenty wrong. I did a whole show on it, but I think I was pretty dead on with Chucky, where I said, before the season, I said, listen, he's not the athletic guy that is going to finish at the rim. He's going to struggle a little bit with Johnny gone. The other team's going to gear their defenses towards him. So this is kind of what I expected. The three-point shooting has gotten better. So I'm going B- because to your point, though, there's still too many wasted shots for your point guard. And I didn't expect that. I expected more growth in running the team, getting efficient shots. I haven't seen that. But the rest of it is right about where I thought. And the three-point shooting is even better than I thought. So for Chucky, I'm going kind of a B-. I'm just a little bit higher based on what I thought he would do this year to where he's been.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't to knock on Chucky. It's just where expectations, his point average per game is roughly where I expected him to be. I think he's made a lot of growth there. His efficiency numbers are troubling in some regards.
Well, especially like you said, finishing at the rim, getting to the free throw line, finishing at the line, all that stuff has to get better for sure.
Yeah, he's got to put more pressure on a defense inside the arc. He just has to.
Yep. But see, I expected some of those. I really did. I expected some of those issues finishing against better defenders who are now no longer guarding JD. Those guys are going to be on Hepburn now.
It's not a finishing thing necessarily to me. It's if you're going to do that, then you need to drive and kick. You got to find somebody on that. If the defense is going to collapse down on you, you have to find somebody open that can get a clean, easy shot.
That's fair.
And as long as it's a good look, I don't care. He's doing his part at that point.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. All right, let's go with Tyler Wall. We'll take turns on these players. I got Wall at a D. And I have him at a D. I'm giving him some credit for being hurt. I think that really stalled out his season, but his offensive numbers are down significantly from an efficiency standpoint. His usage is up. His true shooting percentage last year, effective shooting percentage, which factors in 3-point, free throw, 2-pointers, is 42% this year. That is by far the worst among regulars on the team. For reference, Carter Gilmore, who we don't allow to shoot, is shooting 47% effectively, which is, a significantly higher number than Tyler Wall. We don't let Gilmore shoot the ball. So I have him as a D because I think his defense is still there. His rebounding still there. So a lot of what he brings is still there, but offensively it's been a disaster.
It has. I would probably put him at a D+, but I think we're splitting hairs there. You and I have discussed this and people have been very over the top in basically defending him. And to be quite honest, listen, I realize he's injured, but I'm also going to say this. He wasn't an above the rim type of guy. He wasn't an explosive offensive guy. A lot of what he did was shot fakes and whatever down in the post to get clean looks. Now, some of that is his lateral issues. Yeah, has played it, but the big part of the problem is he was taking bad shots. Like he would get people that had him in bad position, and he would still be like, it's going up, because I think it got into his head that he needed to be the one to be the guy this year. And because of that, he felt like he needed to play out, a little bit out of his comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's kind of what's been the problem. Like I think realistically for him, his usage needs to go down, and he just needs to take the shots that are there. And he'd be a far more productive player for this team offensively. And I think the offense in general would get a lot better for the team if that happened.
I think both these guys, talking to Hepburn and Wall, are really Robins, and you still need a Batman.
Yeah.
And they just don't have it on this team. Like both of those guys, to me, feel
he's a year away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen,
we're going to get to him, but yeah, he's a year away.
Connor. Well, listen, I got Steven Krall up next, and then we're going to get to Connor. Steven Krall, I did Tyler Wall first. Where are you at on Steven Krall on that ranking?
Compared to what I expected coming into the season where he's at, I would say I'd probably put him at a B. I think like he's shown a lot of growth. I think the things that I see with him are more a issue with his physical traits and what's going to hold him back. I think that when you look at him, a lot of the problem is that Krall is very high-waisted, and he's a guy who's going to struggle to get down and get anchored into position in the post. And we've seen that throughout the entire season. Guys who can get underneath him really push him off the block. Most of his shots are longer and deeper than what you'd like from where he's shooting. It's typically he's in that – it's normally 5 feet further than 5 feet out from there. And you'd like to see a guy who's turning and just kind of flipping it over his shoulder from a couple feet away. So they're lower percentage post touches for him. He hasn't been great at times from the post in passing out of the double. And he's, quite frankly, been terrible from shooting from outside the arc. I expected more there. I expected him to be at least around 30%.
Yeah. On this one, I have the same grade you have. I have a B because I think there's been growth in areas. He's actually leads the team in assist percentage, basically the amount of possessions he has that result in assists. He's leading the team. He's at 21% there. So he's even with some issues at times. I think the issues passing on the double team are a quickness, a processing thing. Yeah. It takes him a second. But he's had some great assist games. I think he plays his butt off for the most part.
He does.
That have size.
He plays very hard. His shortcomings are mostly just his skill set's not perfect.
And he came into the season, like you could tell he put a lot of work in the offseason. He's stronger. He's bigger. He plays hard. The rebounding numbers are up. The scoring's up. He's been, at times, really good in the post. Yeah. I think the three-point shooting, I think he's at 27%. That's the one area where it's just like, and the free throw shooting, by the way, at like 50-something% there. Both of those.
Those are the biggest problem areas with him.
But I think in a lot of areas, he's either met or exceeded my expectations. So we agree on Steven Krall. We're giving him a B. We're going to take one quick break here, words of our friends of our show, and then we're going to get into Justin's favorite player this year, Connor Sejan. This should be an easy grade for us. We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers. All right, let's come back into the show. Welcome, Justin. Again, thank you, everybody who's tuning in. Really do appreciate y'all. If you like the show, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Y'all are awesome. A bunch of good news and content coming up on this channel, so stay tuned for that. Justin, let's go to CE. Let's go to Connor. Do we even need to ask if he's exceeded expectations? Like, it's an A.
He's A, if not A+. Like, from where he was recruited and what the expectations were coming into the season, he's effectively turned into their best scorer. And I think that's legitimately if you look at his games and his consistency based once he started getting regular high minutes, he's by far the most consistent scorer they've had. It's not close. Like the game to game, every other one of the big three has had games where they're just bad. And Connor has been consistently 10 points or more in almost every game with the last one. Yeah.
Right. I mean, except
for a game like this, like he's a freshman. This is a game where he'll learn from it. But what he's going to take away from it is I need to get easier shots in that situation when I'm not hitting from the outside. I need to put the pressure on the defense and attack a little bit more. And we're seeing that. That's the growth that I'm starting to see. And I know you're probably picking up on it too. He's being far more aggressive at going towards the rim. And that's really going to open things up for him. He's got some quickness there that is a little bit crafty. Like you watch it. He's that rip through and go. He can get moving to the rim. And he's smart with it. Like he does that nice scoop into to the hoop instead of, going up with it and getting it rejected 8 rows deep.
Mm-hmm. No, it's the easiest grade of the night. It's an easy A+. It's the top of the scale compared to expectations. And you were the highest on this show coming into the season on Connor And I think he's even blown past kind of that expectation.
Oh, yeah. If he was getting 15 shots a game, we'd be seeing a guy who's scoring 17, 18 a game, which would be unreal for a freshman.
And by the way, I mean, we talked about, obviously the Rutgers game, probably the low point for him in the year, going over 10, over 7-3, missing a potential game winner. But the game before against Michigan, I mean, he carried the offense. Finished it up.
We lose that game if Connor doesn't carry us.
Yep, got to the paint and a couple drives, had a dunk. I mean, just he's so good offensively as a true freshman. Get out of here. That's an easy A. And as tough at times he's had it defensively. Like he's had some issues, some freshman issues, some strength issues. He also competes. Like he's not somebody who backs down from that challenge. He's going to get a lot better.
He's really good at the sell too. Like when he takes contact, he knows to throw the head back and stuff. And you watch him and you're like, part of that is probably because you're weaker than we'd like you to be. But it also sells because the way you get kind of ragdolled around in there looks legitimate.
Yeah, part of it is also kids growing up watching Dwayne Wade and right, like
Reggie Miller.
Reggie Miller, Devin Booker. I mean,
the ace.
Name your star NBA player who doesn't do that, right? All right, so we're in agreement there. Let's go to Max Klesmit. This one's interesting to me. From where you expected him coming in?
Defensively, I think he's an A. Offensively, I think he's probably a B-. Like he shows some nice things offensively. I think he's better at getting to the rim than we expected. He's too hesitant to shoot, in my opinion. Other than that, I think that there's a lot to work with there from a tool standpoint. He's a very Josh Gasser type offensive threat out there where you're like, you wouldn't be shocked to have a game where he drops 15 on somebody because he's efficient. He doesn't take a lot of bad shots. He normally takes things within the flow of the offense. You just like to see him take the open looks that are there at times a little bit more than he does, especially on a team that struggles to score so much.
Yep. 100% agree. You're exactly where I'm at. Defensively, he's definitely better than I thought he would be. He's our best perimeter defender, at least with Chucky. He's right there.
Yeah.
But offensively,
he holds up a little bit more against bigger players.
Yeah, and he moves his feet really well, and he takes a challenge of the other team's best perimeter wings a lot of times. But offensively, he drives me bananas with his just – bro, when you're on this team especially, and I expected – it's actually a little disappointing to me because his shooting efficiency is pretty strong. And on this team especially, when the ball swings to you and you're open, shoot the friggin' rock. Like – because that extra pass is going to Tyler Wall, who's shooting, like 42% overall and 30% late. Like, it's just like, you're a good shooter. I felt like as a veteran coming in, he would be quicker to make those types of decisions, right?
You wonder with him coming in as a new guy, if he's a little bit not wanting to make waves. I think next year we'll see a lot from him in terms of growth in the offensive side, where he's just comfortable taking more of a assertive role in that aspect.
I like him. Like I really like him as a player. Shoot more.
Oh, yeah. He's a top 7 guy on a good team.
Yeah. He's also probably not a starter on a good team.
I agree with that. But he's a guy that comes off and gives you 20 minutes off the bench that may drop 10, 12 points. That you're like, yeah, that's not shocking to see him do that.
I agree with that. Now we're going to get into kind of a group that I do want to talk specifically Carter Gilmore because he plays a lot. And then the rest of the group is just going to be kind of banged together probably because they just haven't played much. It's hard to really evaluate them. Carter Gilmore, I'll kick this one off to me is just to see. Like he's exactly what I thought he would be.
I think he's a B defensively and a D- offensively.
I mean, this is what I expected, honestly. Somebody who doesn't give you anything offensively but works really hard. He's
smart. He stopped shooting. But the problem with that is that now that you're playing 4-on-5 on offense every time because the other team does not take you seriously as an offensive threat at all.
Yeah, and that's something that doesn't. So when people point to the box score and say, and listen, none of this is meant to bash on anybody. That's not what we try to do.
He plays his butt off. Connor plays really hard for this team.
Carter, I think you said Connor.
Carter, yeah, I did. Yeah. Sorry, well, both.
No, we knew exactly what you're talking about.
Carter plays really hard.
None of that's to bash anybody, but we also have to be honest with what we see. And the fact of the matter is, he doesn't shoot the ball, and the other team knows it, right? So it just makes it so hard offensively when you swing the ball around. And there was a play it was in the Rutgers game where we had a high pick and roll. We swung it back to Carter Gilmore at the top. Maybe it's the Michigan game. I forget now. They're all blending together, but. Like, that's a wide open shot and a great look for anybody who can shoot the ball. But because they know he's not shooting it, they just hedge off of him and blow up the pick and roll. And then Carter just has to pass it again. And it just makes defense so much easier because, as you said, you're playing 4-on-5. So it's a C. I mean, but it's a C because those expectations weren't that high for me coming into the year. All right, this last group, we have Ilver, McGee, Hodges. If you want to throw Lindsay in there, we just haven't seen any of those guys.
Yeah. There are a lot of incompletes for me.
Same. I don't think it's fair to throw grades on any of them, really.
I think in terms of, here's the grade I want to throw out here. What is our grade of the coaching staff in terms of developing depth with these three guys? Because I think there are some pluses to some of these parts. Like Ilver potentially is a guy who grows into a nice spark off the bench offensively. McGee could be providing some strong, point guard minutes depth off of the bench for Wisconsin right now. And I think Hodges, you and I both agree, I don't think that he's that bad that you can't throw him out there and get, especially with the front court that we have, that you can't put him out there and get five minutes out of him.
I think the most glaring one to me, we've talked about this before. I felt like McGee and Hodges should have been playing. Ilver to me is kind of weird. I want to put him in a separate thing, but I felt like McGee and Hodges should have been playing 5-6 minutes a game in the non-conference. And I think we've seen recently McGee with a little confidence being able to play through some stuff. His last 2 games were the last 2. And you telling me he couldn't do that early, like something in 2 months, he became a different player? Come on. Like he should have been playing more to begin with. And by the way, one of the things I've wanted to see a little bit, we saw in this last game, is Chucky off ball, McGee playing a little bit of point. You can do that a little bit because Chucky's such a good standstill shooter. Mm-hmm. So I am frustrated that Gard and the staff couldn't find more minutes for them on a team that literally has no other depth.
I realize that they see them every day in practice, but there's something to be said for getting guys some film time and having them understand how different it is from practice. Like, this is what you really need to work on. Like, I brought it up to you. We were talking offline about Ilver, and I'm like, Ilver's biggest issue for me, the thing that drives me nuts, is his in-game awareness. You need to know the situation. You need to know what's a good shot. You need to know where you need to be and what you need to be doing on defense. The game's moving too fast for him. But in that regard, if you give a guy like that 3 to 5 minutes a game where he gets to see some film and you have something to show him every game, be like, see where you got beat on this? This is what you should have been doing. That's extreme growth opportunity for a player like that. And I understand that this team has a very, very small room for error in terms of what they have to do. But still, it's 3 to 5 minutes. Like, every game we watch guys go out there and provide nothing really for portions of the game. Is it really different if you have somebody out there who's young and has some growth potential? Like, we have Davis and them going out there. Like, there's times where I look at it and it's like, yeah, Davis goes out there. Goes 3 games without scoring. Is that really providing significantly more than what we would see from Ilver? Ilver might get beat a couple times, but it is what it is. Like, I think I would have taken a couple more losses earlier in the season if it meant that at this point we had more depth in the season. And you're looking at guys like Ilver and McGee and them being consistently putting in, 5-10 minutes a game because they've grown a little bit.
I've said it before. I just don't think the wheels fall off if you give Hodges 3 minutes a game, especially with the lack of depth in the front court and
the foul trouble we've had in some of these games. Yeah. Like, you're going to tell me that he can't play post defense and basically just say, just don't lose your man. Like, he's going to be D'ing up the other team's big the whole time. It's not like you're going to rotate him off onto a point guard at the top of the key.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Now, like you said, we don't see him in practice. Maybe there's something that's just atrociously going on and behind the scenes that we don't know about. Maybe there's an attitude thing we don't know about, but
he's a better athlete than Kral. Like, I get that he's probably not as good in the post as you'd like to see defensively. And to be clear on that, better athlete, not more skilled, not better awareness. And I realize that Kral is a significantly better player at this point. But from raw athleticism and strength, I would put money on it that Hodges probably is a little bit more fluid and athletic out there and able to recover better than Kral is.
Oh, we missed one, by the way. I'm looking at my notes. Jordan Davis. I have Jordan Davis as a C.
He's our bipolar pick.
Yeah. So the thing with Davis, though, is this is kind of what I expected, right? Yeah. A guy who works pretty hard.
Really good or really bad, depending on the game.
Shoots some threes when he's open, hits some, misses some. He's a solid player. That's what I expected this year. And that's kind of, I feel like, what we've gotten.
We've underutilized him, it feels like, at times. Like, this team could go small. It might as well at times. And I just feel like we avoid that. simply because it's like we're not a great rebounding team as it is. At times, it probably wouldn't be the worst case to go out there and make the other team try to force them out of it. But I don't know what you do. What are you going to go 4 guards and crawl? It's going to be awkward no matter what you do. But I just don't know. I feel like Davis at times could have played more than there's games where he only got 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably a 15-minute per game guy.
Yeah, and I think he handled I don't want to call it demotion, but if as a player, if you go from starting to the bench, you're going to feel like that's a demotion. I think he handled that pretty well. His first game coming off the bench was really strong.
Mm-hmm.
But there are games where he just makes no impact, right?
Yeah.
He'll play 10, 15 minutes and finish with 1 point and 1 rebound. And it's just,
And he's a guy who he's a little bit like Ilver in that he's not afraid to jack up shots. I'll look at the box score partway through the first half and I look at it and Connor's got 2 shots and Davis has 4. And I'm like, what's going on offensively with this team? How is that happening?
Yeah, you do like people who shoot though, but you just gotta be balanced. All right. We're at 35 minutes. I gotta wrap this up. Do appreciate Justin as always, my friend. Thank you everybody for tuning in, for listening, for watching. Let us know in a comment where you're at and which players exceeded expectations, which ones are below. I think everyone's going to agree at least on the Connor Siege and take. Unless somebody out there thought he was going to be a one and done. That's about the only expectation he's not going to hit this year as a true freshman. That's about it. On Wisconsin, appreciate y'all. Let's go.